Hey everybody, welcome back to Star Technology. Last time, we went a little overboard. We made way more fusion reactors than I thought we could. And in this episode, we're aiming high. We're going to try and get the fusion reactor Mark III and replace everything with Mark IIIs. It's ambitious, I know. Will we be able to do it? I'm not sure. What that does mean is that we have a very long checklist of things to do. First of all being the UV components, and as you can see, we have finally crafted a UV motor. At the moment in this pack, I believe that this is the second last tier of components that we can make. Although, I'm not sure. It does look like we can make the ultra high voltage components, but we're not holding our breath. We still have a long way to go. We haven't even finished the ZPM chapter yet, or the LUV chapter for that matter. So today is all about biology. Not only are we going to have to get all of these recipes out of the way, including the UV superconductor, and eventually the Gravistar, which does require the Mark III reactor. But let's just get started, there's no time to waste. So, let's work backwards from the wetware processor. What in here can't we make? And I think it's pretty obvious we can't make neuro processing units. Because this requires sterilized growth medium, stem cells, and the wetware boards, which again, all take sterilized growth medium. And sterilized growth medium is going to require the sterile clean room, but it also takes raw growth medium, which is this funny mixing recipe, which I am actually familiar with now. I'm looking at it, it all can be done at IV, which is very nice. So we'll probably just do everything at IV in the clean room. But I mean, we could go higher, so maybe we just do LUV. But we're getting ahead of ourselves already. We need the sterile clean room. And the difference between the regular clean room and the sterile clean room is the filter casings. So we need to be able to make the sterilizing filter casings, which are going to require some large PBI pipes and a black light. So let's just set the recipe. We need to be able to make the PBI pipe, which is fine and easy, and then the black light, which we're just missing europium screws and tungsten carbide screws. So set the recipe for the spring and the long rod, and then tungsten carbide screws and tungsten carbide bolts. So now we've set all of the recipes into their patterns. We can just remove these from our sidebar. Sterile. And let's think about how large we want this clean room. So we do want it to be relatively large for as many processes as possible. Sterilized growth medium also requires a chemical reactor to make the stem cells. And we're also going to need a ZPM circuit assembler in there as well. So let's see how we go making 80. Ooh, not enough buffer of europium or PVB, PBI, and zinc. We actually have no zinc. Okay, that's interesting. Well, let's see how much titanium it uses, because I know that's the hardest one for us to get. Only 160. That's not too bad. So I wish we could favorite things from this menu, but we need europium, polyvinyl butyryl, polybenzimidazole, and we need to set a recipe for zinc ingots. I can't believe we've gone this long without a recipe for zinc ingots, but here we are. That's a recipe done. Put it in with the patterns. Then what we can do is we can just pull some of the europium out. We'll wait for that buffer to refill now and watch our million of it go down. We'll grab another stack of the polyvinyl butyryl, and then we need another half a drawer of PBI. So we're going to have to let those buffers refill for a while because, you know, low voltage buffering is not the fastest thing in the world. But let's just see if that is all of what we need. So we are needing 32 more PVB, 400 more PBI, and we have enough europium and we can make zinc now. Okay, perfect. So let's just do a little bit of waiting and then we can get those done. Looks like we may have enough plascrete for this, which is nice. And we have a clean room controller as well, so that's good. And some glass. All right, that's perfect. We actually have everything now. That's a first. All right, waiting has been done. Let's request 80 sterilized filter casings. That is one big craft. So we now have all of the sterilizing filter casings that we want to make. We have our structure set up for the clean room, and I have to admit that 9x9 sounded a lot bigger in my head than it actually is. But as the sun sets, let's just finish this build. And with that, we are finally sterile.
Wait, what?
So, in this room, we actually have a fair amount to go. We want to be making sterilized growth medium. And there are a lot of components to this. Some are simple like salt and calcium, others not so much like mincemeat, agar, and mutagen. I think we'll use each wall to tackle one at a time, and then we can use some other space just for some other things. But the simple processes are where we should start. And nothing is going to be simpler than the bacterial sludge. And in this case, we can also do enriched and mutagen. So let's make mutagen first. It's pretty simple. We're going to need a distillery. So we'll request an LUV distillery, and we're missing carbon again. God damn. Let's fix that. Whenever we're short on carbon, I just head over to our EV electrolyzers, and I just throw in a bunch of diamond dust. Diamond dust gets us, there it is, 64 carbon dust per. So each one of these is an insane amount of dust. Insane by normal standards. Nothing by comparison to the amount of bloody sulfur we have. So let's try again. Let's see how many distilleries we need. We have mutagen, which needs 1 distillery, 1 brewer, a chemical reactor, and 2 more brewers for the bacteria and biomass. So that is 3 breweries last I checked. So 1 distillery, 3 breweries, and now we need bio chaff and plant balls, which are a compressor and a macerator. So let's get a macerator. And we're missing a compressor. Well, we'll set the recipe for a compressor. It's very simple. Into the pattern provider, and we can request it. So the distillery just finished. That's nice. And while the others wait, let's just see how we can do this. So we're going to need power, so I think we just run these along the wall. So let's just grab some LUV wire. We want to run our power cable along the wall. And the distillery is going to be the last step for this process. So we can just put that there. Let's just run the ME channel as well and place an interface. Our brewers have finished up, which is nice. But let's see. So mutagen is just a circuit 1 recipe, and that is only used in one thing, which is our recipe. So what we'll do is we'll also run an ME conduit on the top, because then we'll just place a storage bus on the top and set it to extract only, filtered to mutagen. And then on the bottom, we can install a pump, set it to import, and enriched bacteria. So now the distillery is set up. Enriched bacteria is going to need a brewery. And so I think it's probably best for us to just place 3 breweries here. This one making enriched bacterial sludge. It's only used in one thing. So we're just going to set it to auto output. And that makes me realize we don't need that. So we can just take our pump off. And we'll just set it to circuit 1. Our compressor and our macerator have now finished as well, which fits nicely along the wall. So it is the compressor to make the plant balls and the macerator to make it into the biochaff, which means we can just set the compressor to auto output plant balls. And then biochaff we can set a storage bus for, which is extract only on biochaff. And here we go. So we are going to need import for water and distilled water, and then biochaff for both of them. Biochaff on the top. So for biomass, we just want to import regular water. And then for bacteria, we want distilled water. And so that's all set up nice and neatly. Now we just need is some more pumps to keep setting up these machines, because I don't think I have any pumps in this bag. No, I do not. Lots of conveyors, of course, but no pump. We're also going to go ahead and set the import for potatoes here. That's how we're going to make our plant balls. And what we will do is we'll just use a very fast conveyor module for this. Set it to import. And the second we plug this all in, that should turn on. They'll then get macerated into biochaff. And here's the brewing recipes. So 1 biochaff plus some water gets biomass. 4 biochaff plus some distilled water gets some bacteria. Smash those together in a chemical reactor and we get bacterial sludge. So here are our pumps, both set to import. Can't forget your conveyors as well, also set to import. And one of the last bits here is just going to be this chemical reactor. So we're going to have a pump, import, bacteria, and biomass. And we'll go for a storage bus on top, set to extract only for bacterial sludge. And I think what we do need to do is we need to set the extraction here to lowest priority. Because there is a recipe that creates bacterial sludge when making stem cells, which are used for our neuroprocessing units, we want to make sure that that is consumed before any new products are consumed. So that should actually do it. Now what we need to do is set up our power system. So flux point, select the network, place our converter, soft mallet, all of these will turn on. And now we do just need a machine hull just to pass the channels into the clean room. There's the low voltage machine hull, and we're going to have to avoid the cleanliness of this room. So now we're no longer sterile. We can just hide that down the bottom and connect it up with a cable. So coming into the clean room, we should see that the non-clean room processes start working just fine. So the plant balls are being made. Maceration process is not the bottleneck. As usual, it's the compressor. Biomass has been made. The bacteria can't be made yet because it requires the clean room. And then nothing else can be made yet. We do now need to export biomass. So what we'll do is we will just send it out into the world, where it will then get picked up into this chemical reactor. And same with bacteria. So we have no way of limiting these at the moment, and that's fine because I think the production is going to be slow enough. And we have a lot of fluid storage, so if these start backing up, we'll just turn them off manually. And we're about 45 seconds away from being clean, so let's just have a little bit of a wait. And there we are. Now we have bacteria being made, so bacterial sludge will be made. So perfect. Now we need to work on our enriched bacterial sludge. So we're going to import our bacterial sludge here. So it's going to go into our brewery. And we're also going to import tiny piles of Nequadria dust. We are also going to be cheeky and we're going to give it a crafting card. And what we can do now is we can set up the recipes. So we're just going to use Nequadria dust. And then to make Nequadria dust, there's only really one way for us to do that. And that is going to be macerating an ingot. So we'll just put the macerator into the Elite Macerator 2's processing patterns and toss that in there. And now once we place our conveyor module set to import, we should see that that makes enriched bacterial sludge. And now we have mutagen. I would call that a job successfully done. That's probably the most busy process out of all of this. So let's just start to unfavorite some of the things so we can see what we have left to do. So does that look like a lot of processes? Because it doesn't look like it to me. I think we've actually managed to get through most of the SGM chain already. And we already have salt and calcium. So now we need to make agar and mincemeat, which are slightly involved processes here. So let me build them and then I'll show you how they work. So this might not look like it, but this is actually the first step in the sterilized growth medium mincemeat chain. And the reason why is because we need an automatic farm of something, and we can't automatically farm chickens, beef, rabbits, sheep, or pork, but we can automatically farm fish. And when we macerate fish, we actually get an extra chance at some mincemeat, unlike the chicken, and we get tiny piles of bone meal, which we're not really going to focus on. But the mincemeat here is used not only in the raw growth medium mixing, but also in collagen, which is used to make gelatin. And gelatin makes phosphorus and gelatin dust, and then we autoclave that into agar. Slightly involved, but that's fine. We now need to set up a macerator for mincemeat. Then a chemical reactor to make collagen dust, and we have bone meal on automatic production, so that's easy. And then collagen with phosphoric acid, which we don't make. But phosphoric acid does appear to have a skip here. We can use phosphorus, oxygen, and water in a large chemical reactor, circuit 24, to make phosphoric acid. So let's set this up and reconvene when we have the process done. Well, here we go. It's actually all ready and set up to go. It's just another wall of machines, I know, but here, let's untangle it. So the first one is going to be the macerator importing in fish. It can import all 3 different types of fish from the fishes behind me, but either way, we get mincemeat and bone meal. In here, we're going to import bone meal. I forgot to place a pump, so we'll import that as well. So in this chemical reactor, sulfuric acid, bone meal, and mincemeat will go in to make collagen. Collagen is going to get mixed with phosphoric acid and water. In here, collagen will mix with water and phosphoric acid to make gelatin. Gelatin will get centrifuged into phosphorus and gelatin dust. The dust will be autoclaved with distilled water into agar. And then it'll be mixed in with salt, calcium, more mincemeat, and agar, mutagen, to get our raw growth medium. And it's important to know that if you're going to do this, you need to use a robot arm with Keep Exact. Otherwise, you'll just fill your entire mixer with salt and calcium. So let's turn it on now. All we have to do is set an output, just like this. So now mincemeat is coming in. Let's just make sure we've got the chemical reaction set properly. Sulfuric acid, bone meal, and mincemeat in a high voltage chemical reactor makes collagen and diluted sulfuric acid. And I have to believe that this is bugged. This isn't working right now. So let's have a restart and see if that fixes it. There we go. That seems to be working. I think. Sulfuric acid is not being imported, which I think is because of that. There we go. So now we have 1 collagen dust. This only makes 1 collagen dust. And how much do we need? 4. Okay. So this is the slow process. So it's going to take 20 seconds to make enough to make a single craft of the gelatin. But we actually need 1.5. So it's going to take 30 seconds per craft of gelatin. So there's the mixing. 10 seconds to mix. Gelatin goes into the centrifuge. And we need 6,000 millibuckets. Not sure why, but, you know, that's how it works. And that looks like a really long centrifuge recipe. Oh my goodness. That is, 15 seconds at LUV. That's not too bad. So there we go. 15 seconds centrifuging. Which then has given us some gelatin with distilled water to agar. I was hoping it didn't do that. It's because I actually don't have any gelatin. I know there is a way around this issue here because you know, it's just importing from what's in the system. But I'm not going to bother with a proper solution when I can just do that. Simple. Now if agar goes in there, it doesn't get imported. And now we have our first craft of raw growth medium. 30 seconds to make what I believe is 4 buckets. And then from that, we get 4 buckets of sterilized growth medium. Which, let's just get a super tank 4 and buffer 6.4 million buckets. Or is it 64 million? It's 64 million liters, so 64,000 buckets. I see nothing wrong with that amount of buffering. It's Gregtech after all. So there we are, and then we can just place it here, send it up into the tank, lock. We're not going to void overflow, that would be silly. And we'll set a storage bus with sterilized growth medium. So that is all of the processes we needed to make sterilized growth medium, or SGM, which I'm going to call it from now on. Which means that we can actually now make the final tier of circuits that we're going to be able to craft. Unless we can actually make the draconic, which I think is here. Yeah, I'm not sure if we can actually make these. So we'll worry about that when it happens. But for now... But in the meantime, let's do our favorite thing ever and clear our favorites. And look at the next stages of research, which is going to be the data module, which is a ZPM circuit assembler in the clean room. We're also going to be able to want stem cells in the clean room, so may as well make a ZPM chemical reactor. There's no point wasting time. And then the regular ZPM circuit assembler in the other clean room. So we actually need 2 of them, or we just use a ZPM hatch, which I think we'll just use a ZPM hatch. And the wetware board is just made in the regular one. That's all fine. I think the only thing we can't make here is the petri dish. Yep. And the petri dish is just fluid solidifying PTFE or PBI in a cylinder mold. So do we have any molds? We don't have any molds spare, so let's just make some. We'll just get some regular steel plates. 1,000 is a nice number. So there's a few molds, and now let's get a cylinder mold, which looks like that. Go to the solidification wall. Import. Do we need a full stack of them? Probably not. That's the wrong spot for the pump, actually. I don't know why I just did that. Pump goes on the top. Here, set to import, and the items go out the bottom. We'll grab an interface. Let's filter it to PBI, I think, just so it's... Oh, I just saw that's a high voltage fluid solidifier. Luckily, I have a wall of insane voltage fluid solidifiers. So let's place a cylinder mold. Oh, I'm not going to be able to unlock that, am I? That was silly. Oh well. Set the import to PBI, and then watch it go. There's the petri dishes. Let's unlock that down the bottom. Lock. Done. Okay. So do we need 1,000 of them? Probably not. We need to put the copper upgrade in first, and then we can place the downgrade. I don't know why it's not letting me place the downgrade. That's a worry. Please? There we go. Now we can take the copper one out. Done. Well, we've just got a few extra petri dishes now. We can place that Inga mold back. Let's just reset, and done. So the petri dish is off. Now we need to make a ZPM chemical reactor. Let's just set some recipes for them because they're not that bad. And then the circuit assembler as well, I know we can make. In with the other Gregtech machines. And now let's request. So we are going to need 2 ZPM circuit assemblers, which isn't a very expensive craft now, but the amount of resources we've needed to spend to be able to craft this is insane. So 2 ZPM circuit assemblers, and we also want a ZPM chemical reactor. So now I'm just going to chill out for a little bit, let that all simmer in the background, and I'll come back to you when I've got it all placed. Okay, so we've had our components craft, and we need to think about where we're going to place 2 ZPM machines. And I feel like I think we might have to separate these on the wall. You know what? Let's grab out our flux points and our converters. We're going to swap over this line here to use a converter. Again, we just hit it with a soft mallet. And then we can place our flux point, bypass all of the restrictions, and battery to base. And now what we can do is we can break this line, put down a ZPM converter, same with a flux point, bypass, and enable. Also need soft mallet. And then we can grab our drag and steel wire and just place it along here very carefully. We don't want to connect to any of these machines or they'll all blow up. And then we can place a chemical reactor and a circuit assembler. Scratch that. We're going to place them up above. Then we can grab 2 extended pattern terminals. We really only need regular ones, but it's fine. Then we can grab some conduits here, run them across. Let's see, device online. Perfect. So now we're going to set up those recipes. So the data module here is going to require all of this. We can't make the wetware printed board nor the fine yttrium barium cuprate wires. So that's a pretty simple fix there because we can already make yttrium barium cuprate. And now wetware printed circuit boards. We want to have the cupric chloride solution, niobium titanium, and the wetware circuit board. The wetware circuit board, we can make all of that nice and easy. And then let's also set the recipes for the neuroprocessing unit, which looks like we need to be able to make thin silicon rubber sheets, HSSE bolts, PBI fluid pipes, and stem cells. So stem cells is osmiridium, bacteria, and sterilized growth medium. And I'm realizing now we don't have a buffer of bacteria. No, actually, maybe we do. Let me see. Okay, so we don't actually have enough production of potatoes. I suppose we could do some mystical agriculture. This could work. But yes, we do not have enough bacteria. We'll set that up in a sec, though. We need small PBI fluid pipes, obviously, on the pattern terminal. Then HSSE bolts, which we can just use our extruder. Thin silicon rubber, which we should have some ingots of. We do, so we can just bend it. And I think that's everything. Can we make the multi-layer? We can. Okay, alrighty. So let's just put the recipes in and let's sort out potato production now as well. So we're just about ready to get our potatoes sorted, but I figured I should bring you along the way. So to get potatoes, we can just essence burn, and I'm sure they're in here somewhere, nature essence on circuit 2. Now nature essence can't just be crafted easily. The first thing we need is we need water essence, earth essence, and then wood essence. And that crafts 1. And then we need 16 of those to make a seed. But back to the actual nature essence, we need wood essence as well, which is air, water, and earth essence. And so what we have here is the setup that we're going to use to make potatoes, currently just cranking out earth essence. And I think now, with that amount, we should be able to make our nature essence, which you can see why it took so much earth was because of all that wood essence. And there we go. Now we just get to do a little bit of waiting before we get 16 nature essence. And while we wait, I think we might be able to have a chat about mystical agriculture in this pack. I like the idea of Gregifying mystical agriculture on principle, but I find this recipe chain relatively complicated, and I know that I do actually have everything to make all of the crown solutions, and they do filter into each other, but it is really inaccessible. I do really enjoy the fact that you need to craft wood essences out of the basic essences, which you get from centrifuging inferium, which is made with phosphorus, beryllium, and glowstone, and then replicated at, for us, 1.95 seconds. But I don't like the fact that as you get into the more extreme versions, you need more and more stuff. And especially, coal is a bad example of this, I suppose. But tin essence, giving us cassiterite ore. I'm not entirely certain the purpose of this when we can have the large sieve cobbleworks, which will get us crushed already. So this just adds an extra processing step, which I suppose increases yield, but it takes so long to actually get this stuff set up. No, except for tin, that's water. But platinum is a great example of this. Platinum gets you sheldonite, and you need the crown solutions, either at IV or ZPM, to get 64 sheldonite. It then just needs to go through an extra step where you do get a chance to make more, but with how much it takes, you may as well just use this recipe. So I do feel like there just isn't much point to mystical agriculture except for edge cases like this. Which is sad because the idea of Nequata Essence using Awakened Supremium should be getting you something better than just 12 raw Nequata. That is completely unbalanced, and the fact that it requires UV tier power just doesn't make sense. I'm not sure if it is covered in the new pack. I'm not criticizing this too much because I really do love this mod pack. But I think that if that is the case, then it certainly needs to be worked on. And there we are. We don't need any more earth essences. We have 16 nature essence, which we will compress into a seed. And now what we can do is we can auto output into our burner and make potatoes on circuit 2. And then we can send the potatoes straight into an interface. So nature seeds, potatoes. Plant balls being made at speed now. Bacteria and biomass will now start to build up, as we can very clearly see, and our problems are solved. Thank you, Mystical Agriculture. So let's have a look if we can actually craft the wetware circuit board and stem cells. Looks all good. That is an expensive circuit board, and let's give stem cells a go. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. So let's output everything on the side and collect our stem cells, and let's see what's blocking up this chemical reactor from making our wetware boards. Well, it needs a circuit assembler, not the chemical reactor. So that's kind of silly, isn't it? Let's put our sterilized growth medium in the most sterile container we can possibly think of. Grab the ingredients, fix the chemical reactor. I've put that in the least accessible spot possible. Let's take that out then. And put it in the ZPM circuit assembler. Done. 30 seconds still. That is rough. But it makes 16, so maybe it's fine. And there we are. They're all crafted in the Elite Circuit Assembler. Let's just set them to output into the interface and grab our boards. And there we are. So let's make wetware printed and neuroprocessing now. So wetware printed, let's just make 16, may as well, right? And let's make one neuroprocessing board. That's pretty cheap. I have a feeling that actually requires 8 electrum plates, not 1. That's another really frustrating part about this pack, is that you do just have to be careful, because whenever there is a forge recipe in there, so for instance when it says forge plates electrum, it will actually reset the recipe to 1, which includes fluids will go to 0.001 buckets. And it is quite frustrating because I get tripped up by that a lot. So just make 7 electrum plates just to fill in the gaps there. Replace the recipe and put in the rest of the plates, and another 30 seconds to make that board. Hopefully that's not used in too much, but it is used in all the wetware processes. Fantastic. So the LUV takes the neuroprocessing unit and the ZPM takes the wetware boards. Then the UV circuit takes wetware board as well. And then the UHV circuit doesn't take any, but it takes titanium foils. Oh, I think we can actually make this now, which is fantastic. That's so good. That means we're one step closer to the fusion reactor Mark III. Very cool indeed. So that's most of the circuits done, and that would be the entire, other than the active transformer, LUV chapter finished. What a huge achievement. Thank goodness for that. Just 2 more to go. So now that we have access to the wetware processor line, what's next on the agenda stopping us from getting the fusion reactor Mark III, which I believe is here? What it looks like to me is we need a network switch, another reactor, the data module, we can do these 2, americium we have, quantum stars we don't have UHV circuits, and we can't make enriched Nequata trinium europium duranide wire. And I believe that's just because we don't have titanium coils, so we are also going to need... So that's what we need. We need the UHV circuits, the titanium coil blocks, and the network switch. Pretty simple. Let's get that going. So that's actually going to require 4 computation reception hatches and 1 transmission hatch. It's actually going to require making the network switch, which means we have to make the titanium coils first. So titanium coils are quite easy. The only thing that we can't make at the moment is the 2x titanium wire, which we have titanium on buffer, so this is no problem at all. Set the pattern. Oh my god, we need the UV assembler. And I've just realized in trying to put the titanium coils into a pattern provider, we actually need a UV assembling machine, not a ZPM. So we better set the recipe for a UV assembler. We're also going to want to make a 16 amp energy converter, which means we go to UV and we're going to need to make prismalium. And we're going to do it the molten way so that we can just save on resources and a bit of time. Not that 12,000 seconds is saving on time, but just because it's slightly easier. We already have that set up. We've got trinium coils. It should be fine. So molten prismallium is going to be a circuit 13. We need 4 shellite, 7 tungsten carbide, and naquata, and that is 2.736 buckets. And the way to convert that to ingots is you take the amount of millibuckets, which is 2,736, and you can divide it by 144, which is how much it takes to cast out an ingot, and that is 19. So what we will do is we will set that to 19 prismallium ingots. You can also just count the amount of dust going into this, but that's the fun way of doing it. We like to do things the hard way. Yay! So the 16 amp converter is going to take 16x wire, which, my god, this is going to take a long time to make, but that's okay. You can just place the 16x wire in a pattern provider and then the 4x into the wire mill. And then that should be it. Yes, it is. Let's just find circuit 13. I think it's this one. Here we are. So that's got dragon steel in it as well. And now it's going to have prismallium. So let's request the ultimate assembler. I don't think it takes anything we can't craft yet. Looks all good to me. And then let's go ahead and request, let's just say 5 UV 16 amp converters. So 171 prismallium, which is going to take 3 hours. But I think because it's halved, it's only going to take an hour and a half to smelt all of this. That's, I suppose, not the worst thing in the world. And now we can't craft anything yet because all of our fusion reactors are requesting use of our fluid extractor, and we can't extract anything while Naquadria is being made because it takes so bloody long. I'm not even joking here. It takes 3 seconds at LUV per Naquadria ingot. So that's already another 3 minutes that we have to wait. The time just keeps adding up. Don't you just love it? That's why these episodes take so long to make, by the way. It's nice to have the buffer of the Factorio videos these days, but unfortunately, Gregtech does just take this long once you get to the late game, as indicated by the fact that our time played now is at 27.3 days, which is 656 hours. That's already a third of the way to my total Factorio playtime on a single Minecraft world. You then add in the fact that I spent 1,000 hours on the previous Gregtech world, and you're starting to realize that I've spent almost 1,800 hours, the same as my Factorio playtime, on Gregtech alone in just 2 worlds. But I do this to myself. I saw all the quests here, I saw a Stargate, and thought it would look awesome. So bear with me while we do a little waiting. Okay, so there's the assembler, but we don't actually have any way of powering it yet. So, more waiting. So, yeah, that did take 20 minutes to get a single 16 amp converter. What fun. In any case, it's time to place it in the clean room. And I think we're just going to replace this area with our machines. I think we'll just do the same little trick over here where we can place a converter, soft mallet, flux point, no limits, and battery. We do have a slight problem that we don't have any UV wires at the moment. Let's just see what ones we can make. Tritanium is UV. We need a 16 amp cable. 16 amp looks to be osmium, that's our UV. 16 amp UV is yttrium barium cuprate. Well, luckily we have a lot of yttrium barium cuprate, so let's put that through the 4x wire mill. Wire mill, circuit 4. We'll also set a pattern to coat it. Silicon rubber, no thanks. With styrene butadiene rubber. We can just put it in that ingredient buffer, and let's just request 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's fine. We do want to use superconductors wherever possible, but sometimes it's not possible. And since this is an assembler, let's just place it on the assembler here. Bring our flux cable up, get our extended pattern interface, place it on the top, and allow. That's the wrong one. We want that to be on the bottom, and allow that. It's the UV assembling machine, and allow. So now what we can do is we can place our titanium coils in the UV assembler, and eventually I think we'll move over some of the more expensive recipes and time-consuming ones into the UV assembler as well. I think we're also going to need a UV mixer for this, enriched naquata, blah 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 blah. Not going to say it again. So let's just request another UV mixer, or not another, an actual UV mixer. That doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be. And let's have a look. So 42 times 2, we need 84 titanium coils. So how much is 84 going to cost us? 600, that's most of our stock. and also a full hour of our time. How about we go for rant number 3? I am getting pretty sick of Gregtech recipes taking this long for no reason. Cupronickel coils took 10 seconds to craft. It would make sense that all coils would take the same amount of time to craft. Cupronickel took 10, and then Canthol was 15, that's okay. Nichrome 20, then 25, 30, 35, 40, why do they go up so much? There's actually not really a point to continue to increase it with increasing energy cost. It's just a time waster, especially with how much you need to build here. Looking at, end game multi-blocks like this with 770 stellarium casing, that's going to take a lot of stellarium. And you need titanium, it needs to be at ultra high voltage, and it needs 200 seconds. It's just a time waster. I honestly don't see the point. Now keep in mind, I do this for fun, and I am actually having fun despite all my complaints here. But that doesn't mean I want to wait over 10 minutes for some ingots, It's a game, and it's supposed to be fun. If you can't have fun, well, what's the point of playing? But anyway, let's request it. There's no point waiting. We should just add it into the queue. So once we get our UV mixer and our things, we're going to be ready to go. But I'll see you in an hour. Alrighty, so coils are done. You know what that means. It's time to do the thing. God, isn't that just so fun? I love doing that. And so with our new coils, I do believe that means we can finally make the network switch so that we can put all of our HPCAs into one research station. It is also going to require one advanced computing casing and some regular computing casings. So let's request one advanced computer casing and let's just say 30 regular computer casings. And we can't because we have no processors remaining. Well, that just means more waiting. Okay, and now we actually have the network switch built. The good part about the network switch is it takes any amount of inputs and has any amount of outputs. It just consumes more power. Right now we're using 38,400 EU per tick because we have 4 in, and then we have 1 out here which goes directly into the HPCA research station. So what's next? We've got the network switch. Well, let's just look, shall we? So we need the reactor Mark III. So that's going to require UV research, which I know will require a UV energy hatch. So that's already there. We need the ultra high voltage circuits. I think we can make that. We just have to check. Liquid yttrium barium cuprate, sure thing. Double americium plates. The UHV circuits are going to require UV research as well. I think we can make all of that. So we just need to be able to make the UV energy hatch, which is a UV circuit, yttrium barium cuprate wires, and the UV voltage coil. Sodium, potassium, yeah, I reckon we can do this. So start small. Can we make everything here? The only thing we're missing is the UV coil, but that is good. The UV coil is just going to take fine titanium wire and the samarium rod. Fine titanium wire, pretty easy. Okay, done. We can make the titanium frame, I just saw that. We need the double americium plate. How about we actually put this in here and see? Yes. Not yet. Yes, yes. Yeah, okay. Alright, cool. So I was almost spot on with the things we couldn't make. We need to make yttrium barium cuprate, which is just going to look like that, not too bad. And then the single wire, pretty easy as well. And that's that. And now let's have a look at this and see if we can make everything. Yes, we can, except for the other UV circuit. The other UV circuit is going to take all stuff that we can make. Very nice. We just need to make the ZPM circuit, which we can make. Let's just make sure we set that to soldering alloy. And then the LUV tier circuit, which is all fine and dandy. So let's just put these recipes in and see what we need to do from there. So some of the stuff that we actually need is we need to do more research. So let's grab some data modules as well. So we've got data orbs, data sticks, and data modules. Currently we need to make some data modules, which takes a little bit of sterilized growth medium. I don't think too much. We're also going to need to make some wetware processor assemblies. Suppose let's just craft one since it'll be quick. Right? Right, will it be quick? Yeah, maybe it was actually quick. I wish this gave you a time estimate, that would be fun. Well, not an estimate. It does give an estimate, but it's so wrong all the time. Okay, so let's see how quickly, if at all, this can research. So we need... Oh, it's not researching. Well, that's a shame. I think I have to move this one over. I think that's why it's not providing, because there's no optic fiber cable that joins those two. As you can see, we have our data transmission hatch and a data reception hatch. Directly connecting them doesn't seem to work. So I guess we tear this down and move it over one. So we've moved it over. Let's just see if this works. There we go, it does. And look how fast that is. Isn't that just beautiful? And that's why you make everything as fast as possible. So the next one is we are going to need the ZPM energy hatch to be researched into the UV energy hatch. Does this take a data module? It takes a data module. Oh, we have one being crafted right now. That's handy. But they take 20 seconds. So, you know what? Maybe we haven't set the output properly in the clean room. Yeah, I didn't think so. Let's set the auto output, allow input. What? Oh, for goodness sakes, are you serious? The data modules take 2 circuits and the recipe has started with 1. I swear I do that every time. So let's edit the data module recipe to have 2 circuits. And let's try again. First, let's cancel the request and then request a different 10. And there we go. So that started working every damn time. All right, we have a data module. Here we go. Let's research that. That's not as fast, but you know, still better than it was before. Oh, there's a smiley face there. Isn't that cute? So the research is now complete. Let's do a test run of 16 UV energy hatches to see if we can craft them. That is... Oh, that is okay. Yeah, not too bad. We haven't changed the recipe to the wetware boards yet, but that's okay. We will do that shortly. But let's get our 16. We're also going to try and get some more advanced data access hatches so that we can upgrade our databank. We're also going to need to request the wetware processor supercomputer when any crafting CPU comes available. I think what I'll do as well is I'm just going to have... Oops, that's the wrong spot, isn't it? I think what I'll do is I'll just have some extra crafting CPUs on the side here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them for automation only. And I'm going to change these ones over to request by players. So that rather than using my massive CPUs, which are all for my big crafts, I can use some little ones for little crafts. Like 0.14, like for an ingot of titanium being melted down. Just make sure that's for automation only. Yeah, it's getting a little spaghetti down here, but that's okay. And we obviously have to mirror it on the other side. So now we should have enough CPUs in the network that we can request our wetware CPU. Just need to replan that. There we go. So the big crafts are now handled by the 3152K CPUs. And the little ones are going to be held by the 32Ks. So automation is going to be free. I need to set this to circuit 1. So time to research the ultra high voltage circuit. Oops, I think it requires UV research, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Well, that means more waiting. And can you believe it? We have the ultimate voltage energy hatch. It's very nice to see that both assembly lines are working right now, and I do feel like we probably do need a third just to speed things up a little bit. But that's a later thing. We've got the UV energy hatch, and that's all that matters. So you've seen me do it once. In fact, you've seen me do it 3 times. So how about we do something cheeky and set up the automation for the Fusion Reactor Mark III. So we're just going to use our piece of paper that says Fusion Reactor Mark III, and we're going to set up the entire multi-block. So I know we're going to need the controller. We need 16 of each hatch, 4 fusion coils. So I'm so happy that fusion coils haven't changed in the slightest. I think it's 32 glass. Let's just double check that. Well, it's technically 31, but we can't make that. And then 48 fusion casing Mark III. Oh, and we can make that as well. Beautiful. And then we need the energy hatches. So we need the UV energy hatch, which is here. And we are going to need 16 of these. Theoretically, we don't need that many, but I just like to use it. Saves us making casings when these are a little bit simpler. And then we need 16 MV fluid output hatches and 16 input hatches. And I think that's everything. So we can say the fusion reactor Mark III. We'll do our regular system here. And let's just send it and see what we're missing. Was that the Mark II? Yeah, right. Whoops. Fusion reactor Mark III. Here we go. Oh, we're actually missing nothing. We can craft it. Well, I have to say, that is very exciting. Something's going to be taking the crystal circuits, but that's okay. I think that's okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Alrighty, well, let's just get that going. This one craft is going to open up the rest of the game for us, because neutronium is the final material that we need to be able to produce without just smelting things. Clearly indicated on the quest page here, that allows us to make the ruthenium, trinium, americium neutronate ingots, which I guess is the UHV. Yeah, there you go. Allows us to make the ultra high voltage energy hatch, which is great. Really is great. I'm not just kidding. But with that all being said, I think it's time to wrap up today's episode. So much has been happening since we've been making these episodes every 2 weeks now, and the progress is just astounding. We have finished the research questing by making the full HPCAs. We've also managed to fully automate sterilized growth medium, 2 million buckets of which is just awesome. And above all else, we've just been progressing. I cannot wait to replace all of these with Mark III fusion reactors. I'm going a little cuckoo with that possibility. It's making me very excited. And if it makes you excited, which it definitely should, then consider liking and subscribing. I know that this episode has been an insanely long grind and is probably around the 45-minute mark by now at least. And if you enjoyed that, make sure to let me know. Like the video if you do, you can dislike it if you want, that's no skin off my back. But for now, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.